I've had a thought earlier today about a divide that I'm starting to notice in the way people run D&D and think about bosses in Dungeons and Dragons. And I think it's really largely generational. Um, I grew up learning D&D uh, from people who played back in the 70s and 80s with AD&D all the way up through third. I learned in 3.5, and like that was my experience. And I'm noticing that a lot of people um, my age kind of being the cutoff point. Like I feel like millennials are in the transition zone, and then Gen Zers are running it a new way because Gen Z are kind of approaching D&D like an MMO more. The video game influences are a lot more obvious and tangible, I think, in the way that younger generations are running Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and one of the places that I think kind of highlights this the most is bosses and boss fights. It seems like the younger you are as a DM, the more likely it is that you just kind of feel innately that bosses should have multiple phases. There should be stages in a boss fight, and the more I think people assume that there will be cutscenes, sections of time where some of the agency has been taken away from the players in order to create a sense of drama. And to me, when I first started hearing about other people running their games like this, it was an immediate, like, you're not supposed to do that. I mean, I've taken tremendous joy both as a player and as a DM, like, interrupting the big bad evil guy in the middle of his grand monologue by shooting my biggest fucking spell right into their face. Doing things that would kind of ruin the pace of a game, ruin that very high drama climactic moment, but in the universe makes complete sense. If you've got a tremendously powerful evil guy standing on the other side of the room who is going to ignore you and let you do something for a few seconds while he talks about his magnificent plan to destroy the universe, yeah, arm that thermal detonator and chuck it between his legs. Don't stand there and listen to the dumb shit. Be doing something. Use every second to your advantage. And so also, like, I feel like the bosses should be doing everything in their power to make sure that they win. I was just talking to somebody, and their fight starts off with the boss fighting the party alone and then calling for backup. And to me, it's like, if you're intelligent and you know the party's coming, you should know they're dangerous, and that if you're in a room alone with them, you're in danger. There shouldn't be any reason for a boss to expose themselves to that danger. So, again, it's something that makes perfect sense if you're approaching D&D with video game logic, but I feel like a lot of the old school people don't see that at all. And I think it'll be interesting in future editions of D&D if the idea of a multi-stage boss and a lot of the, I guess, assumptions that come with that get ingrained in the rules properly, or if the old school of thinking wins out. I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out, though.